Hello, 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 and welcome to WTF What the Footy. And here's our victory song of the week.
Yes, much to my chagrin and to yours, we will go this week with the song of the week, North Melbourne.
So join in the chorus and sing it one and all. Join in the chorus, North Melbourne's on the ball. Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me.
It's a polka.
It is a polka, and
I love that this is the worst victory song I've ever heard.
well, we're trying. Hopefully we'll each have a top 5 here at the end of this, toward later in the season, and we can vote on the best and worst songs.
I was gonna say, we can have a bottom 5 too.
Yeah, that is, you might have, we shook our heads. There, Rob will explain at some point why they're dead to him. I am not happy with them because, again, Carlton blew another big lead. Lost in the fourth quarter, North Melbourne, which now sits 5th in the ladder.
What are they doing?
Yeah, surprising. I mean, they haven't played the greatest teams in the world, but they are 5th in the ladder.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that going into the gather round, and but yet here they are.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. A couple of Yanks shooting blanks about Australian rules football, and we're kicking it off. We are first bouncing today with Carlton once again. I don't even know how to explain it at this point. I mean, it's almost supernatural at this point how bad these fourth quarters are for these guys.
It's just, and I think I did a breakdown last week of the second halves. Fourth quarters are just I mean, they're probably even worse.
Oh, they're dreadful.
Yeah, just the last 2 weeks alone. Or even go back the last 3 weeks when they held on against Richmond in that fourth quarter. Those 3 games there, it just shows an example. I mean, they melted down in the third quarter.
Think about the phrase you just said. Held on against Richmond.
Yes.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Which sits 18th in the ladder.
Do you want to get into Michael Voss now, or do you want to push that to the side?
We can do it now.
We can do it now and kind of get it out of the way if you want to blow off some steam. Because I know on this subject, I really have no other questions than what I asked last week. You know what I mean? I mean, for me, nothing has changed. You were the eternal optimist in this situation. And I would really, really like to know if last week's loss has shifted your perception.
It really hasn't shifted. I mean, it has to an extent. I've realized, hey, and I point out, I have my commemorative Bruce Dual coin here.
Yes, let me pat myself on the back here a little bit. A special gift for my co-host. I'm Robert Gregory, by the way, Joe Rudder co-host. When we had our breakfast casserole a couple weeks ago for the Melbourne Carlton game, I presented him with this. I don't know if it's ultra rare, but I like to think it is. But a commemorative coin.
Yes.
That the Melbourne Sun gave out back in 1989. And it turns out the flying doormat, Joe's favorite player, is one of the coins.
And that's who Rob got, not knowing at the time that was my favorite player. And really,
yeah, completely. Yeah. Pardon me. So. Yeah. Yeah. So but even with your lucky coin, and I assume that it is now your lucky coin. Even with your lucky coin, did I hear right? It was a 22-point lead was it the fourth quarter or the second half?
No, it was in the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter!
It was either to start it or early in the fourth quarter, yes. And about halfway through, they're up by 14 or 15 again. And, being as late as the game was, I fell asleep. I was trying to listen to it on the radio.
Because we're old people.
Yeah, and the game started at 1:15 over here.
You're right.
But
and you did not have breakfast casserole.
And I did not have breakfast casserole
to help keep you awake, of course.
And so I, woke up to hear that they lost, and was not that surprised because I had seen it the nightmare the week before. Voss, I'm resigned to the fact he's not going to be the coach of this team much longer. They're going to let him coach through the gather round, supposedly. I mean, maybe if they come out with an impressive win against Adelaide, maybe he hangs on for a little bit longer.
Is that really enough to save his job at this point?
I would think you would need to do, that would be enough maybe to keep him for another week. But I would think at this point, I mean, I like the guy. I like the way he handles his team, but there's something missing. He's not getting them going.
Well, you at least like the way he handles his team for the first 3 quarters of games.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem, there's an inherent problem there, though.
Yeah,
is that they played 4 quarters.
I don't remember which player said it, but he said it last week. His answer to the problems was, maybe after halftime we bring the banner out and run through it again like we pretend it's the opening of the game, so we'll play better. And
you have 2 first halves. That's great.
2 first halves, so that way they'll be fine. They'll win these games because whatever they're doing, they're 4 points. So the lowest, I think, of the teams that have 1 win, or if not, they're right there. Just on their way to a lost season, things don't turn around quickly. They've got a lot of talented players. They've got, they've gotten out to good leads against some decent teams, but just, it's just not happening for them. I'm resigned to Michael Voss being canned. I just don't know who. I don't know enough about the situation who would replace him, but for somebody on staff, if they're looking outside for a former coach, but it's and that'll
be up to team boss Chris Davies.
Yes.
In his first season from where I think he came over from Port. And he had a quote this week. This was after he guaranteed that Voss would be coach for Gather Round against Adelaide. And I believe that's the first game of Gather Round, is it not?
I believe it is Thursday.
Yeah, Adelaide Carlton at Adelaide Oval. And we're gonna get into Gather Round here in just a second because I don't know about you, Joe, but I got a couple problems about what's going on. We were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris Davies goes, we are 1-3. And if we are taking any positives from those 3 losses, it's that we have been in position to win those games. Well, duh. Yeah, you have, and you haven't won.
Exactly.
What kind of quote is that?
It's, it's a guy who's, I guess,
is this a guy reaching for straws too at this point?
Yeah,
trying to help Voss save face, and again, I made the point last week that for me, I think Voss is still in his position because of his pedigree, and we can go through it again. He's a Brownlow medalist. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a 5-time All-Australian. I mean, this guy was the man in his playing days. But you look at his coaching record. He was 22 games under in his 5 seasons at Brisbane.
Yeah.
And this is his 5th season at Carlton. Final year of his contract, by the way. I don't know if we'd mentioned that or not, and I'm not so sure that I knew that coming into this week. But this is the final year of his contract. He's 50, 49, and 1 with the Blues. So it's not like he's burning it up as a coach. And it could be one of those things where, he's a much better player than he was a coach. 50 years old, so he's not that far removed from his playing days as far as what do I want to say? Interacting with the youth, maybe, on the team. But again, I think all of this changes. I mean, that is not digging deep, those stats, right? You look at 50, 49, 1, okay, he's having an average time. Maybe you look at some injuries, maybe you do this, maybe you do that. When you look, what is it, 7 in the last 22 games, they've had a 4th quarter lead of double digits or something like that, and have blown them.
It's the way they played since the midpoint of the 2023 season, when they've just, lost so many games, blown a lot of 4th quarter leads, had these, other teams have epic comebacks against them. And, that doesn't bode well for him. He has gone in his last year's contract. Now, I'd like to point out, I think the ultimate decision we made by Graham Wright, the new CEO of Carlton, who was brought in late last season or at the end. And I think he brought in, some other talent, or other, maybe, the GM that you were speaking of. I think it'll be his
Davies.
His decision. Yeah, it'll be. I think Davies is just new enough to be affected by this. But I think Voss and a lot of his, senior officials on his staff, will, could be in a lot of trouble with this.
It was my thought that Davies was new enough that he wouldn't give Voss as much rope as he has. But like you said, that may be coming from above him at this point.
I think Wright will be the ultimate one. I think he's been a big power player in the league. I'm not that familiar with him, but I've heard he has a big pedigree. So I think he'll make the decision. But if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to rather go on to happier topics. So if you want to go on to Melbourne,
well, let me just do one more thing that I found out on this story. I got to mention this,
okay,
because our old friend Sam Doherty, Sam voicemail Doherty,
yes,
he chimed in. And he goes, I just don't think, and he's behind Voss. He goes, I just don't think you can make a move on a coach at this time of the year. I think it would be a really poor decision. And of course, my first reaction to that was, well, poor decision? You mean as poor of a decision as leaving a voicemail, trashing your former team to a supposed friend who then puts it on his podcast? Is that the poor decision you're talking about? Or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, Sam doesn't have much room to play the moral high ground.
No, and I'm surprised he's letting himself be quoted at this point.
Yeah,
because I mean, again, we aren't on the ground at Blues Central at the Carlton mothership, but the last we heard, because of those comments, this guy was persona non grata for a while things kind of blew over. And you would think that what's happening with Michael Voss, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Michael Voss, okay? But when you see the same thing happening over and over again, and I mean, it's the definition of insanity at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see the same thing over and over and over again, and you just keep waiting and waiting and waiting to make this move. You make a great point earlier. At what point do you lose the season? So I'm not coming at him like that. It's just that the recent results that, like you said, carry all the way back into 2023, and then last year really reared its ugly head during the stretch.
Yeah.
And now it's just a continuation of that. That's what we're talking about here. And the amount of rope that he's been given, to me, is remarkable.
And I think one thing that plays into this maybe is the timing of some of these games. They've played a lot of Thursday games so far. There was, they haven't had a little bit of an extended. They did have the one bye after the opener, but they haven't had really an extended time. And I think it might be hard for them if they're meeting early in the week to make a decision when they've got a game on a Thursday. So I think maybe that.
As far as the coaching decision goes.
Yeah, as far as the coaching decision goes. So maybe they're pushing it back a little bit until they, have a little more time.
Yeah, that could be.
And get somebody, in place there and have maybe a longer week to get ready for this next, for the next game. But no, I don't expect him to survive this. I think it would take a miracle at this point. They'd have to obviously beat Adelaide and then reel off some more, but I don't even know if that'd be enough right now.
And and Adelaide right now is it is not exactly the cream of the crop. I mean, Adelaide is sitting there. They're sitting there at 13th. Okay, yeah. They are the best one-win team in the league, if you look at it that way. So I mean, it's not like I almost think Adelaide needs this win more than Carlton does on Thursday, especially. I was going to say, especially as the host of Gather Round, as I transition into this new topic. But Adelaide sitting there with one win. Yeah. I mean, they were the minor premiers last year, and they're sitting here struggling.
And they lost their first two playoff games. They're 1-3 this year. Big lot of pressure on Adelaide to pull out of this funk. And hey, they got Carlton. That's their best crack at doing it. And,
I was going to say, is that their get better game for them?
It probably is. And this is, like you said, it's the start of the gather round, the last gather round on the schedule. I guess they're negotiating and try to go back to Adelaide again in the future.
Yeah.
But,
South Australia really, really, really likes having this. And you can see why. I mean, last year, I think they had at least 250,000 people come in for the games. And to make a little bit of a parallel, we here in Pittsburgh are hosting the NFL draft in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And the big story, of course, is the draft itself. But 1A is the amount of money that's going to be coming into this city, because this will essentially be a pilgrimage, not just for NFL fans, but for Steelers fans worldwide who get to come to their mothership and worship their grounds at the NFL draft. And that's what we're talking about with Gather Round, and why South Australia is really, really, really keen to keep in this event.
Yeah, and it's not located in one city; it's located in a region or a state of Australia. So they have more room. Or in Pittsburgh, the big issue is where they're going to put everybody if all these hundreds of thousand people show up. Pittsburgh's not that big, and the site of where they're having the draft is
Yeah.
not going to be able to hold everybody. But that's a different topic. But yeah, I mean, they're expecting large gatherings to come in here, people traveling in for the event. It's been successful last year. I think they set a record in attendance last year. They're expecting sold out crowds, especially at the main stadium with Marvel, right? Or no, the
Adelaide Oval
Adelaide
is
Oval,
the
that's right, Adelaide Oval.
is the primary venue. It seats what 53.5. So I mean, it's not a small place. Not a small place. Two other venues that are hosting games include Barossa Park, and that's around 10,000 for the capacity of that. And then the Norwood Oval is 9,700. And we're going to talk about Norwood Oval here in just a second. But this is the fourth year of Gather Round. After the first year, they decided to have it 3 more years in South Australia because it was so successful that first year.
Yeah.
But some of the problems they're encountering this year with everything that's going on in the world and worldwide inflation and what have you, there are complaints about gas prices. There are complaints about lodging. And then there are some complaints here and there, and maybe a complaint from us after our discussion last night talking about our show today about scheduling. So let's talk about the gas first, okay? So a lot of these fans tend to drive to Adelaide and the surrounding areas, okay? Keep in mind, 10 of the 18 teams are in and around the Melbourne area.
Yes.
So you've got a collective group of fans that are driving from that area to South Australia. It's about a 450-mile drive. Okay. 8, maybe 9 hours, depending where you are in that area. Okay.
Yeah.
Gas prices being what they are and what they've become, particularly in the last month or so, the fear was people were going to back away. They're not gonna like paying the extra tab to drive there. So the AFL partnered with Shell to give a 10-cent per liter discount. And I was wondering about this because I know here in this area we have a
calculator out.
Well, I had dude. Of course, I had the calculator out. I'm the guy that thinks 2 + 2 is 22. Okay, so I need the calculator, right?
Yes.
Here in Western Pennsylvania, we have a supermarket called Giant Eagle, okay? And you can get an Advantage card through them, and they give you discounts on their gas. They have little gas stations called Get-Go's. You get discounts on the gas. Right now, the discount is around 30 cents, okay? So I started doing the math. There are 3.6 liters in a gallon, okay? Because I wanted to get it to a gallon to see how much we're talking about. So that's 36 cents a gallon, except that's 36 Australian cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And if you convert that, that's about 27 cents American a gallon, which is a couple cents shy of what I can get every day with my card.
As long as you have it linked to your checking account, though.
What's that?
You have to have it linked to your checking account usually.
Well, be that as it may.
Okay.
I can get this discount any day I want.
Yes.
And apparently, I can only do it 3 times a day. I found that out a couple weeks ago, by the way. But my discount is a little better than what they're offering. And I guess my question to you, Joe, is, am I off my rocker in thinking that the AFL, once again, could have done a little more?
I think so. I mean, when you put it that way with the math, it might sound good over there. And maybe they don't have those kind of discounts over there. Maybe this is a big deal for them. Maybe this discount really helps the people out. I don't know.
Very, very possible.
For us over here, it doesn't sound like much. I would think if the AFL really wants these people there, they would, maybe provide a better incentive for them to come in, to give them, a better, what was it, 10 cents you said? I'd make
10 cents a liter.
20.
Yeah.
I'd make it 15 or 20 to really assure that these people are getting a good deal coming into South Australia to, witness this gather round.
I mean, even if they're just offering this discount for the week, okay? So, and I would say the week would start Tuesday, after the previous round's games have completed. Start on Tuesday. So go Tuesday through Tuesday, right? I mean, they're partnering with an oil company that I'm sure is not hurting for anything. I mean, can't you do a little better for the fans?
I would think so. I would think so, especially, if you want the fans to come and support you, and most of them drive. I think if a majority of your fans are driving, that's the way it works. I think that would, be only fair.
It's not an impossible. It's like driving to Charlotte from here.
Yeah.
It was like me driving to the Tire Bowl for Pitt. The one year driving to Charlotte. It was about an 8-hour drive. So I mean, it's basically a day trip. But to give them a discount, I'm not saying that they didn't do anything, but on the heels of kind of half measures with discipline that we talked about last week, and going back and forth about the time of the grand final and other decisions that have been made that were kind of back and forth. I just feel like the AFL likes living in this gray area instead of just shooting the moon when they should.
Yeah, and they are, especially over there, I guess they're competing with rugby and cricket for attention to get on the sports pages and on the shows. And I mean, it's the most popular sport, but you want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And you want to grow your brand. And I think you want to do everything you can to make it as much of a fan friendly sport as you can.
And point of order, Gather Round is actually copying off two of the major rugby leagues that are in the area that have been doing this since like 2019 and even longer. I mean, I think they call them Magic Rounds or Super Rounds or something like that. And so the AFL, to their credit, saw the success of these events and decided to apply it to the Australian Football League, which is all fine and great. And I'm sure had not the events of the last 6 weeks happened, we probably would not be having this conversation about, a discount on gasoline. Yeah. But this is the world we're living in right now. So you've got the gasoline prices. I guess there's complaints about lodging. So I saw a written quote that said that $500 for a studio apartment was ludicrous. I don't know how that is over here. I'm pretty sure we've got people around Acrisure Stadium where the draft's going to be charging about $1,000 for parking in their yards. But that's part of the complaints that are going on. And then we have the schedule. And I thought the overlapping of a couple games was the big problem. But Joe, talking this through last night, we saw a glaring problem in the schedule.
And you're going to have to refresh me on the game because I don't have the.
I will. Well, I mean, do I really have to refresh you on the game? So.
Yes, it is Sydney and
Gold Coast are going to play this weekend. Okay. Yes. Right now, 2 and 3 in the ladder, and we've been talking about the Swans. And we've been talking about Gold Coast. We've been talking about the Suns. We've been talking about them since the opening round and how good they have looked for most of the season. Gold Coast game with Melbourne notwithstanding this past weekend. We're going to talk about that a little bit coming up too. But we assume that when the league decided that round 5 is going to be Gather Round, they want to get some good matchups.
Yeah.
And we're also assuming that they had a general idea of who was going to be good this year. Yeah. So why not pair Sydney and Gold Coast? That's not the problem we have. The problem we have, and I'm still waiting to, later in the week, they play, let's see, what day do they play? Is this Friday or Saturday?
I think it's Friday. I think they got the Friday marquee matchup.
Actually, they're the first game on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
The first game on Saturday. Joe and I expected to see this game, again, number 2 and number 3 on the ladder, to be at Adelaide Oval. 53,500 people packed in to see an early season litmus test.
Yes, and to see
on how good these teams really are against each other.
And a potential preview of what you could see in the finals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not that this had postseason ramifications, but I think there are postseason specters
Yes.
attached to this game.
And
so where do they put it? Do they put it at Adelaide Oval?
Nope.
No. They put it at 10,000 seat Norwood Oval.
That's a head scratch.
Joe and I are just left scratching our heads.
Yeah, and that in Barossa, I think there was another oval involved earlier, or a few years ago. But yeah, these are smaller. I guess maybe VFL or the younger, the lower leagues play there. But yeah,
they would have to be.
You
got
to use them because you only have so many, major league quality facilities, or really with Adelaide Oval being the only one that has a 50,000 seat capacity. But to choose this marquee matchup for that venue, that was just the biggest head scratcher. That was our biggest what the footy, really.
Yeah. We're kind of burying the what the footy this week because we didn't have anybody wiping blood on anybody, and we didn't have voicemails going out, and we didn't have stuff going on like that. But in talking about the schedule, just kind of looking at it and parsing it down last night and seeing that this game is at a place that seats 10,000 people when you've got Adelaide Oval there. Let's see, what is the game? So they got so Friday night. So it would be, let's see. Actually, it'd be Saturday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday afternoon, they have Essendon and Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. And then 3 hours later, they have Sydney Gold Coast scheduled for Norwood.
I would flip those.
Well, I mean, isn't that the obvious thing?
Yeah, I mean, and I doubt they can do it at this late time because they've probably got the tickets sold. But it's like you said, I'm looking at Adelaide Oval, 10th versus 4. That's Collingwood and Fremantle. But yeah,
now, I mean, I got to say, it occurs to me that neither Sydney nor Gold Coast sits in that 10-team group around Melbourne, right?
No.
Sydney is a little bit up the coast with Greater Western Sydney, right?
And
Gold Coast is even north. What's that?
Isn't Gold Coast up there as well? A little north.
Gold Coast is even north of that with Brisbane.
Yeah.
So if those people are driving to Adelaide, they're stopping over somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Australia's probably. So it occurs to me that maybe the league thinks that there won't be enough. How do I want to say this? Won't be enough fan interest in the game so they put it in a smaller venue. But my thinking is, if you're a footy fan, and you see Sydney Gold Coast on the schedule at Gather Round, can't you at least draw more than 10,000 people to that contest?
I would think so. And especially when you're bringing everybody in to one central location. It's not like you're asking your core fans, to drive to another state or location to watch this matchup. It's right there. It's in your area. I don't know how far these stadiums are apart from each other, but it's right there. And you would think, again, you would expect a decent crowd with, having everybody come into this region. I'm sure there are fans that buy packages to go to as many games as they possibly can.
Well, you make a decent point, and that's something I probably should have researched to see what the packages actually were. I mean, I doubt that everything is just single game ticket sales for 3 days. I mean, to me, that wouldn't make any sense. I mean, that would go against everything I would think that Gather Round means.
Yeah, and from what I understand, just in the research I was doing last night, that since this was instituted, well, 2 things I noticed. One is it expanded the season from 22 to 23 games, that they just added an extra weekend. And so I guess that doesn't affect the rest of the schedule as far as your typical home and away matchups, who gets two games against another team who gets 1. This is an extra game built in, added to the schedule, like kind of the NFL went to 17 games a couple years back. They added this in. And the other thing that occurred to me was I saw that I don't think what they call club memberships, which I guess is where they get their ticket bases from, do not apply to Gather Round. That this is a separate deal. Even if you have a club membership, you have to buy a separate ticket. You do not get priority seating, I guess. This is totally separate of that, and that's how they allocate the tickets.
I mean, I don't think there's any chance that the league does a swap with the games we mentioned. Although that would make a lot of sense to put Sydney Gold Coast in the big place and put Melbourne Essendon. I mean, I love my D's, but even with their big victory over Gold Coast over the weekend, I still don't know. What were the dog terms you used last week? Leader and
fader and closer.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yes. I don't know whether the D's are a leader or a fader. They were a leader over the weekend, but they're just so inconsistent right now. And of course, Essendon right now is Essendon. I mean, how much interest is there going to be in the Demons and Essendon at Adelaide Oval? I mean, do they really? I could be totally wrong on this.
Yeah.
It could be, they call it a festival of footy, and maybe that is how it is approached by all the fans that show up, and that maybe they do fill that place to watch Melbourne and Essendon. But I just think, I mean, it's not a stretch to say that, Sydney Gold Coast, number 2 and number 3 in the standings right now, is going to be a better game.
Yeah, it should be a better game. And, I would like to point out there is one match they did get right. It is, I believe, a Sunday matchup. The first matchup on Sunday, number 16, Greater Western Sydney, against number 18, Richmond. They're putting that at Barossa Park.
That's a Barossa Park, yeah.
They might only get 5,000 people.
Well, I was just going to ask. Now, that's the one that seats 9,700, right? No.
Yes.
Norwood's 9,700. Barossa's 10,000.
Yeah.
So, do we really expect 10,000 people to see Greater Western Sydney and the worst team in the league?
Yeah, I don't see it unless they're all Toby Green fans and they want to see him fight.
We better see a lot. Better see a lot of Toby Green Guernseys. That's for sure.
Yeah, that definitely is your dog of the week if you're keeping score.
Those are 2 faders, I think Joe is trying to say. But anyway, let's gather around. We'll go over the full schedule here in a couple minutes. But gather around is this weekend. And then what week did I say that the Indigenous round is? I said that was sometime in May, right?
I thought you said it was in May. Yeah, I don't remember when it was. Yeah.
And you're already shopping third Guernseys, right?
I was looking to see if I don't know if Carlton hasn't. Well, maybe they haven't unveiled them for this year. I know other teams have done it for the other years. But
sure.
I know the Carlton does not special gather around Guernsey. That I know some teams have actually brought out new Guernseys for this, and in fact, I think they made one for Tasmania that people can wear to support the new franchise.
Good. Yeah. Can we mention Tassie just for a second?
Sure.
3-0.
3-0.
3-0 in the VFL.
Yeah.
And there were calls a couple weeks ago because of the delay in their new stadium being built that perhaps they should delay their inclusion into the AFL until the stadium is ready. Mm-hmm. These guys are 3-0. I think they won by like 55 points this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I realize we're 3 weeks in the VFL season, but I mean, if this keeps up, I mean, what kind of Tassie team are we talking about for the AFL?
True. They could be, they could be good. I don't know how that works as far as players they have under contract and whether, I know they're trying to sign players and build up for the future. I don't know if that's young players, that will be part of this in 2 years or, I'm sure they'll have a dispersal draft of some sort when they take effect and probably get some favorable seating in the regular draft, but I'm not sure when that all takes place.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was worth mentioning that they've, they're 3 for 3. And again, it's 3 weeks. I mean, the wheels could totally fall off this wagon, but 3 weeks, they look pretty good. Look pretty good. And, it's other than the stadium issues, and I won't mention the price again, and I won't mention about the roof, and I won't mention about the capacity, but other than the stadium issues going on, things are looking up for Tassie. Things are also looking up for West Coast, but
they were.
let's use this to transition into the schedule that was. we made the comment last week about West Coast. Of course, West Coast has a place in our hearts because they were beaten down before they even played a game.
Yep.
Before one disposal, right? Before one goal, before one minor score.
Mm-hmm. Lost their best player to Brisbane. We're relying on a lot of rookies and young players. We felt for them. A lot of people thought they wouldn't win a game.
Yeah. So the Eagles, 2-1, going into their game against Sydney, again, number 2 on the ladder. We probably should mention at this point, we've been talking 2-3 a lot. Western's number 1, and they look phenomenal.
Yes.
We got it. We got to mention that. The Western Bulldogs, who just missed the playoffs last year, made that late charge, just missed the playoffs, had the best record of a playoff misser ever. They're 4-for-4 this year. They're on top of the ladder with 16 points. But anyway, West Coast got Sydney this week, and we're humbled a little bit, weren't they, Joe?
Oh, that's to say to say it politely. We figured, we talked last week, I believe, that this was going to be a test for them to see where they kind of stack.
Yeah, where are we game?
Yeah, where are they? They're relying on these young players, and they frankly were just overwhelmed. Lost by, I believe, 123, 128 or something like that.
One of
the biggest losses in AFL history, I guess. Just
163-35 was the the final score.
128-point margin. We didn't expect them to win. We didn't expect them to get beat that badly. But it shows how far they've got to go to get to that upper part of the ladder. And now they're looking like a team that, you don't think they're going to be 16, 17, 18 this year, but they're probably not going to be in the top 10. And they're not going to be probably one of those wild card teams unless there's just total, too many haves and a lot of have-nots, and they're the best of the have-nots.
West Coast currently 12th in the ladder. Their coach, Andrew McQualter, had a very, what I thought was down-to-earth presser after that game, where he just said, listen, we've been playing decent, but we just got tired. And it was mentioned during the presser that the 10 youngest players on the pitch that night belonged to West Coast.
Yep.
And I thought, and he mentioned, he said, well, that just tells you how mature the team we just played is.
Yeah.
And I mean, nobody's going to argue the strength of Sydney at this point, even after the score against West Coast. But it got me thinking about youth movements and how they either go one or two ways. Do you let them take their knocks and let them improve? And do you have the patience to wait 2-3 years down the road when the fruits of these defeats become victories? Or are you trying to win right now, all the time? And it seems to me West Coast start suggests that they're on the right track if they can keep their youth together.
Yeah, I think if they keep them together, let them learn and grow from these type of things, they could be a formidable team down the road. And the fact that they've come out and played as well as they have and got those 2 wins bodes well for them. And I don't think they're going to end up the season with 2 wins, but I think they will be a team that that has its ups and downs and struggles at times.
They haven't had the easiest of schedules.
No, they have not.
Their 2 wins are against North of Melbourne and Port, who are 5 and 8 on the ladder. They've yet to play anybody lower than 8 on the ladder. And, of course, they've gotten smashed by 2 and 3. Sydney and Gold Coast, took them to task. But like I said, it's not like their victories are against Essendon and Richmond.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard to see, or I should say hard to see. It's hard to say that there is no future for a team that, again, was picked to win 0 games this year.
Yeah, and won 1 last year. And, they've already doubled that total. And, they're a team that, could win 7-8 games this year. And that would be a huge improvement from what they were expected to do.
I think that would be a satisfactory stepping stone, definitely. Their next 5 are Geelong, Freo, St. Kilda, Richmond, and then Melbourne. And that's 11, 4, 14, 18, and 7 on the ladder. So, I mean, compared to the start of their season, it's a little bit of an easier stretch. And you can definitely see 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 victories in that stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think at least 2. The 14 and the 18 teams there. That's more of their competitive level. They haven't played Carlton yet, or is Carlton one of those teams? I can't remember if you mentioned.
No, Carlton is not one of those teams.
Okay, because you always got Carlton waiting, and
boy,
totally in disarray by then.
Okay, this is what I don't get. You're openly ridiculing your team, and probably rightfully so. But again, the optimism for Voss as coach, now I realize it's changed a little bit from last week. I mean, last week you were all in on keeping this guy.
Yeah, I wanted to keep.
You were like, he's my guy, he's my ride. I think you said ride or die, right? I mean, that was the phrase you used. Thinking, hey, maybe things will turn around against North Melbourne, and then look what happened again.
Yeah, the same thing, same story. You do it 3 times in a row, and I just it's hard to keep backing him. I hope he does well wherever he ends up. I hope he gets a chance somewhere else.
Well, you've already got his bags packed. you and Cal Twomey, because that's what he finally wrote this week. He said, it's not a matter of if at this point; it's a matter of when.
Yeah, and
when is the axe going to fall?
Yeah, and they should be a lot better than they are. Whether I don't know if they're a top 8 team, but they were expected to improve. I liked some of the moves they made, but they're just not putting it together. And I'd like to see this team finally play its true potential, and it might have to be under a new coach.
Well, I mean, they played to their potential for like 70 minutes.
Yeah, it's those last.
And then for whatever reason, those wheels fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
West Coast, do not borrow Carlton's wagon.
Yeah, I mean, Carlton should lobby to cut 15 minutes off each game, and it'd be perfect. But
I really like the idea of coming through the banner again. I think that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Brisbane got its second win. So it looks like they might be on the road to recovery. The 2-time premiers.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a rough start to their season. They beat Collingwood. Collingwood's starting to struggle a little bit. I'm starting to wonder about the Magpies, although I think they've had a lot of injuries too, so that they're trying to work through. North Melbourne, Carlton, that was the Friday game. Freo edged Adelaide on Friday.
That was a good game.
78-76.
Mm-hmm.
Port took care of Richmond. There was the Sydney West Coast. And then Sunday morning, what they're calling an Easter miracle. And I'm kind of like, well, I mean, I guess it could be if you were expecting the Melbourne team that played Freo.
Yeah.
But not the Melbourne team that rallied against Carlton. But Melbourne at the MCG, Gold Coast traveling, and as we were talking about, without Christian Petrarca, lose to the Demons, 109-89. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I listened to some of that as well. Have it on the DVR. Have not had a chance to watch that one. That's the one I do intend to try to get to watch. But just the first half, for most of the first half, it seemed like it was going the way you expected it to go. Gold Coast was up by 2 to 3 goals. Kind of seemed like they had control, and then all of a sudden, Melbourne, whatever, if they changed the tactic or I don't know, started playing better. All of a sudden, flipped the script, got the lead, and then just held it and just kept pulling away. And I would say very surprised to see that, and it was kind of a wake-up call for Gold Coast. Maybe Gold Coast thinking they were a little better than they were after, making the finals for the first time last year, and a lot of preseason hype that they could be a top 4 team. They got humbled, and it was a great win for Melbourne, taking nothing away from what Max Gawn and the Pickets did.
Yeah, Max Gawn, Pickets, and Jack Steele, the acquisition from St. Kilda. I mean, he's turning into quite the find as far as the Demons go. And you and I are still in agreement, though, that this is probably a vastly different contest with a healthy Christian Petrarca on the field for Gold Coast, right?
I would think so, especially the way he played until he got hurt. He was playing really well, and he was kind of at the center of everything they had going on. And it would have been nice to see what he could do.
A little bit of a freeze. Are you with me, Joe? There you are.
Yep, we lost you for a second.
I lost you for a couple seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. So Melbourne looked good.
They did look good. The Pickets again looked good. Max Gawn again, turning back the clock in the fourth quarter. I mentioned Jack Steele and a host of others. And the thing was, Gold Coast would make charges on the Demons, and the Demons just continually push them back with a goal here, a goal there. No minor scores. Big thing there. No minor scores when they were kicking to the post. It was goal after goal after goal. That's how you beat these good teams. 109-89, so Melbourne wins. Western, as we said, top of the ladder. 4 games, 4 wins. They're the only unbeaten team in the league. They beat Essendon 99-65. But Essendon covering that 75.5 point spread. Here's to little victories.
Hopefully you're
did lose you again.
Or 74.5, but they did cover it. And
but
I mean, Essendon put up a good effort, but still, again, Essendon 0 for 4. So they're kind of where.
And Essendon may be still emotional about the events that happened the week before against North Melbourne and the whole blood on the face and all that kind of stuff. And then, did you get to catch up on this morning's game?
I did.
That barn burner. Do you want to tell us about it a little bit?
Well, it just, and the thing that I caught just watching the highlights was that really the fact that those teams, nobody, it seemed like, it was never more than like a 2-goal lead at any point in the game. And, even when Geelong went ahead and, had like, I think an 8-point lead or something like that, Hawthorn just kept coming back, and then they tie it with about a minute and a half left. And you thought, okay, we're going to have the first tie of the year between these teams. And then all of a sudden, with a handful of seconds left, the ball's squirting around in front of the Geelong goal, and then the guy just plucks it and kicks it real quick, and it goes through the side for a behind, and they get a scratch out a 1-point win, which is a thrilling game, and the crowd really seemed into it from what I could tell. It looked like they had a pretty packed house. So that was good to see, and it was a good matchup, and I feel Geelong, for playing in the grand final last year, seems like they've fallen back a little bit, fallen on some hard times, not as good as maybe people thought coming into the season.
Yeah, you look at the current ladder. Brisbane has kind of righted itself, but they're still sitting at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're not. Well, put it this way: had we not had an expanded wild card situation for this year, they'd be on the outside looking in. Right?
Yeah.
You've got Geelong sitting at 11. I mean, they're even out of the wild card spot at this point. Last year's minor premiers, Adelaide. We mentioned this is a big game for them this weekend against Carlton. They're sitting there at 13th. They have 1 win this season. They need a second win pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, both those teams do. And, there's kind of a shifting of the guard here, where you've got Sydney, Western, Gold Coast, kind of rising up there. You've got North, which I don't think people expect North to remain in the top 4 or 5, but, they're playing a lot better. And you've kind of got these different teams. So it's added a fresh wrinkle to this, which for a newcomer like myself, it's good to see. I'm getting to learn some of these teams
Absolutely.
that didn't know much about coming into the season. So it's been refreshing that way.
As we mentioned, Adelaide Carlton is the lid lifter for Gather Round this year. That game at the Adelaide Oval, Thursday morning, our time at 5:40. The Crows, despite their 1 win, 32.5 point favorites against the Blues.
I mean, it might be deserved. Put it this way: if Carlton has a lead or is tied going into that 4th quarter, I'm thinking that 32 points still could be in play.
Well, I was just going to say, Carlton's actually favored by 2 goals after 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. That's the only game on Thursday at Adelaide Oval. There are 3 games on Friday. Collingwood, Freo, North Melbourne, and Brisbane. That's an interesting game, I think. Maybe one of those see where North Melbourne is. And then, of course, Essendon Melbourne is the last game on Friday night at Adelaide Oval. Let's see, 9 games, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games right at Adelaide Oval this year. And then the first game Saturday is that Sydney Gold Coast game that they're going to play at Norwood Oval. Hawthorn, Western are going at it. Hawthorn a 7.5-point favorite against the ladder leader.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not see that. I would be tempted to. I think I'd be tempted to take West with the points in that one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
By the way, Sydney Gold Coast, 0.5-point spread.
Wow.
Who do you think the favorite is?
Sydney.
Little quiz. It is not.
Sydney.
It's
not.
Gold Coast.
Wow.
Gold Coast is a 0.5-point favorite in that game that, 9,700 people are going to see. Geelong West Coast. West Coast is a 44.5-point dog this week. Your dog of the week, Greater Western Sydney Richmond, actually does not have the longest odds.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
Greater Western is a 32.5-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And then Port Adelaide and St. Kilda wrap up this year's gather round, and St. Kilda is a 6.5-point favorite in that ball game. So we do have some pretty decent.
That's a pretty
I was gonna say
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do have some decent matchups for gather round this year at least. And honestly, you're not going to be able to go. I'm not going to be able to go. Maybe I shouldn't be complaining so much about where these games are if I'm not even going to be there. I'm just going to be watching them on, well, I don't know. Where am I going to be watching them, Joe? Is it going to be Fox Soccer Plus? Is it going to be Fox Sports 1? Is it going to be Fox Sports 2? Because the league doesn't seem keen in narrowing it down for us.
Yes, and it's hard unless you're looking at at least on my cable. I don't know if I can look that far ahead. I usually have to wait till the day before to find out. The league website likes to just throw all 3 games there and keep us guessing on which one it is. But we can always gather around, and we can gather around the television to
gather around. That's right. I like the arm motions.
Yes, the gather around. Gather around.
It's like a big hug. A big hug for all us footy fans. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, I feel so good.
There's not that many of us in the States, I guess. But we need all the hugs we can get.
Well, I think the league could grow the game a little better if they could tell us what channel these stupid games are on.
Exactly. They should have that. They have the contract in place. They should know.
I should not have called the game stupid. That's
we
not the
do
stupid.
Want to get invited.
That's not the stupid part of this. I apologize. I apologize profusely. The stupid part is how lazy I am that I can't hit a remote 3 times to figure out what channel this is on, I guess. That's the stupid part.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joe Rudder, final thought for this week.
Final thought for this week. We recently had, I guess it's a worldwide holiday. I thought it was an American holiday, and it's not really a holiday, but it's a fun day, April Fool's Day, April 1st. And I guess on our Twitter account, which, we both take turns doing, but I was the one who weighed in on the Perth Wildcats, tweeting out that they had signed America's own Mason Cox, right?
Mason Cox, yes.
Mason Cox to a contract for the rest of the season. He's been a free agent. So I see this and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And I write, hey, great to hear Mason Cox. Great to see him find work. He's one of our favorites. We like him. And then after doing that a few minutes, I thought, wait a minute. Okay. And I saw other people say, is this an April Fool's joke? And I'm like, oh, that's right. In Australia, it's already April Fool's. They're already celebrating this. I'm thinking maybe I got had. So I wrote back and said, unless you're playing an April Fool's trick on us. The Perth Wildcats saw that, liked it.
I was going to say, wasn't it almost an immediate like on that?
I would think so. And my contention was, hey, we're trying to grow this podcast, grow our Twitter and social media. Give us a follow. We fell for your little trick there. Give us a follow. Show us a little bit of love. That's my final thought. Yours?
Can we talk a little bit about Lurpa Sloof?
Oh, we can. And before we do that, by the way, in honor of Gather Around here, I do want to show you. I'm breaking this.
Oh, yes, you got to show these off.
I don't have the other one out of the bag, but this is my new purchase, the Carlton hoodie,
zippered hoodie.
Zippered hoodie. We have one for Melbourne that I will present to you when I see you next. I don't want to take it out of the bag and ruin the surprise.
I appreciate
I have my new Melbourne hoodie here that I haven't even put on. I've been displaying it, showing it off to people, have not worn it yet. So I don't know how it feels, but it looks awesome.
It looks fantastic. I mean, I will agree with your wife. It is a tad busy, but
it is very busy.
But
I think,
but I like it. I think it looks great. I think it looks absolutely great.
Yeah. So to get back to Lurpa Sloof here.
Lurpa Sloof, yeah.
25 years ago, which is a great prank. PNC Park opened up. They played an exhibition game. I think it was March 31st. Somebody hit a home run. I think they played the Mets in this game.
It was the
They
Mets.
hit a home run. The PR staff of the Pirates for the next day in the April 1st game notes. And this, I don't know if this, I still think this was a second exhibition game. I don't know if it was still the regular season yet or not, but they had played the second exhibition game. And so they put in the press notes that the first home run at PNC Park was hit by whoever, and it was either Norwegian or Swedish fan named Lurpa Sloof caught the ball in the outfield seats, proudly held it up, showed off his fine.
Oh boy!
And my colleague, who I will not name for our
we don't need to do that.
Didn't think twice, wrote it as fact, sent it in. The copy editors missed it, ran in the paper.
Of which I was one of them. I was working desk.
Yes,
I was working desk at the time. I'm not so sure I actually saw what was going on, but I was working the desk at the time. So
it got out there. It made it into print. Nobody else, I believe, wrote about it. Nobody else was sloofed or fooled like we were. And of course, the next week, it ends up being a little blurb in Sports Illustrated making fun that the Pittsburgh Trib got sloofed by Lurpa on this April Fool's show.
Was that a Jimmy T special?
That was a Jimmy T special, the Pirates PR director, and I tweeted him this week reminding him.
Jim Tradinich, right? Yeah.
And he was well aware, and we had a nice little Twitter laugh about that. And he inquired about the writer calling it his worst day of the year, and I said, yeah, I wonder if he is over it yet and can find some humor in it. But
I hope so. I hope so at this point, because like you said, it's been a quarter century.
Yes.
It's been a quarter century, but I know I can't go through an April Fool's without thinking Lurpa Sloof. It just can't be done, and I'm pretty sure that'll happen until the ground has me. You know what I'm saying? That's going to happen until the day I'm next to a stone. So,
and
good story though. Good story about. You said it was the Perth Wildcats. Now are they like the equivalent of our NBA teams?
I thought it was an Aussie football team. I didn't know. I thought.
Yeah, I think it was a basketball team.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well,
I think so.
Player.
Yeah.
Well,
and I was wondering if it was the same league that the Sydney Kings just won. The equivalent of their NBA.
Yes.
Of which you and I marveled how at halftime was that the Melbourne game?
Yes.
Halftime, the Melbourne game, they actually switched to the overtime of that game, that basketball game. It was what? It was what? The Sydney Kings, and was it the Adelaide 36ers?
Yes,
I think was the name. And they actually broadcast, during halftime, instead of kibitzing about everything else, they actually broadcast the last part of that game, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually liked listening to that and listening to their basketball announcers because if you've been watching this podcast, you know that I have great affinity for the play-by-play work that is done for Australian rules football and now the NBL over there and what have you. I just think they do a tremendous job, which is a great little segue into my final thought, if I may.
Go ahead.
Matt Hill is a play-by-play guy for Fox Footy. And now it escapes me what game they were doing. But in the middle of his call, he just blurts out WTF. Now, he doesn't spell it out. Mm-hmm. He says the letters WTF. And of course, my first thought upon seeing this clip is, wow.
Yeah.
We got a shout out on Fox Footy. Well, of course that's not true. Of course that's not true. But the face his color guy makes is classic because even just the letters WTF gave other people such a reaction. And it wasn't a great reaction, put it that way. It was one of those, are we getting fired reactions, right? Which makes me think two things. Mr. Hill has an open invitation to join our show. I tried to reach him this week. I'm going to keep trying to reach him. I think he would be a fabulous guest for this show.
I think you would be as well.
Number two, I think we did the right thing in naming our show WTF.
I think we did too.
We just crossed an hour, Joe.
How
sorry? About that? We keep saying, we're going to make this show shorter. We're going to make this show shorter. We're going to make this show shorter. And,
And you didn't even tell, which you teased at the very beginning, why you don't like North Melbourne.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Real quick. If I can do it now, well, we can do it now. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we, of course, had the North Melbourne Essendon fiasco with Tristan Sherry, taking the blood from his nose and wiping it on the Essendon captain and all that kind of stuff and whatever. So previously to that week, as Joe and I are wont to do sometimes, we throw some money down here and there.
Little friendly parlays.
I put together a 7-game parlay, the full schedule from that week. And wouldn't you know, I went 6-1. And which game do you think I missed?
I would guess it was North Melbourne, which decided
Melbourne
to the last 3 minutes of the game.
Well, okay, so that's the rub here, right? North Melbourne was up like 30 with 5 minutes to go, and the line was 13.5. They were favored by 13.5. Final score is a 12-point margin.
You got WTF.
And that huge WTF. And probably not what the footy, by the way.
Yeah.
Big spender me. All my wagers are like $1 for everything. So I missed out on turning $1 into what, like 86.14 or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I told Joe. And when he said this was going to be the song of the week this week, I was like, oh, really? Does it have to be? North Melbourne, the Roos.
Dead to you.
Here to be known as the Poos. They're dead to me. They cost me money.
And they cost my team a win, and we got their song out of the way. We don't have to play it anymore as we're trying to give everybody equal love here at some point during the year.
Joe, it's not a song.
Really give us another reason.
It's not a song. It's a polka.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's a polka because that just makes it even more ridiculous.
It would fit in well in Pittsburgh, but yeah.
Oh, it fit perfect here.
Yeah.
It'd be everybody's favorite song here.
It probably would be.
Still a polka, though.
Yes.
That's our show for this week. Thanks for watching WTF What the Footy. You're probably watching us on YouTube at WTF What the Footy. We're on the socials at Facebook and Twitter at WTF What the Footy. And as Joe correctly reminded me last week, you can check us out on podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, correct? And Spotify?
Yes, I believe Apple and Spotify, WTF What the Footy.
Say goodbye, Joe.
Goodbye. Go Carlton. Win one for Michael Voss.
Yes, because he needs it. He needs it more than anybody. For Joe Rutter, I'm Robert Gregory. See you next time.
Showtime.
Showtime.
New record, minute 3.
I know.
Jeez.
I don't know. We got to cut these down somehow.
Yeah.
We just get on rolls.
We do.
We just get on rolls. We get on these. Well, maybe it's more me than you. I don't know, but I kind of get on these rants.
Yeah.
Should I really be ranting that much that I was going to say, should I really be ranting that much that nobody is going to be able to actually see Sydney and Gold Coast?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
You know what, though? If that game is an instant classic, you know darn well more than 9,700 people are going to say they were there.
Exactly. And I'll be curious to see. I'm trying to think of what time it will be over there. It's a day game or a night game, but I'll be curious.
No, it would be 4:15 in the afternoon.
Yes, those, especially in those smaller venues, it looks bad when it's daylight and there's so few fans in the seats. And just the smaller venues where they done, it looks like the stands don't even go the whole way around the stadium. I think that's going to be a bad look.
Yeah, and I realize the whole festival of footy thing, but like I said, I just, how do you not play that Adelaide Oval? I don't know. Maybe they don't think the fans are going to be there. Maybe they, maybe that's something we should look into. Where are these fans actually coming from? Are they coming from that conglomerate around Melbourne? Those 10 teams, those 10 fan bases.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know enough about the geography either to figure it out. But that's why we hope somebody can educate us.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't mention in the show today was the attendance.
Yes.
Of Melbourne, Gold Coast,
yeah,
which if you're still hanging with us, was about 25,000, a quarter the capacity of the cricket grounds.
Yeah.
Now again, it was Easter weekend, so maybe there's a lot going on. But I mean, they schedule these games on Easter, expecting people to come. Maybe they don't expect 100,000 people, but 25,000 to see the home team playing one of the top of the ladders.
Yeah, and
I don't
thinking, Gold Coast, they're being just newly having success. Maybe their fans don't travel well. I don't know, but
I don't know.
I was a little surprised by that. Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe Melbourne fans show up and start showing up more now that they've got this big win under their belt.
Well, and that's what I was saying, right? Okay, so which Demons team do we have?
Yeah,
I guess we're gonna find out. I'm hitting end.
There you go.